Good evening, Lori and Nicole. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear our pitch today. We are MAM Public Relations, and we have an incredible campaign plan for you that I'm very excited to take you through tonight. Next slide, please. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about MAM. MAM is a full service agency that will bring class and creativity to every campaign. We will amplify your brand with fresh ideas so we can meet and exceed your business objectives. We were actually founded during the pandemic, so we are adept at managing the challenges of communicating during a saturated news cycle. We consider ourselves masters of the pivot, so we can earn top-tier media coverage even in the midst of global uncertainty. We have a passion for leaving the world better than we found it, so we are excited for the chance to work with your incredible organization that continues to do great work for both patients and for research in the field of mental health. Next slide. So I'd like to introduce you to the team that will be working on your account. Myself, I'm Angela. I'm the Marketing and Communications Director, and I will be maximizing the placement of key campaign messages that will resonate with your target audiences.
Hi, my name is Megan, and I am the Senior Account Director. I will be overseeing all our big campaign strategies.
Hi, everyone. My name is Miranda, and I'm the Influencer and Partnerships Coordinator. And what I do is I create strategic partnerships that will resonate with target audiences.
So we'd like to go over a little bit of an overview of what CAMH has had to go through during the course of COVID-19. Of course, as employees of CAMH, you have lived through it and you're familiar with this, but for those in the audience, we'd like to give a little context. So as a hospital, CAMH has been greatly impacted by the pandemic. You've had to pivot to meet government expectations and to adapt to the pandemic itself. CAMH has had to bring most outpatient services to a virtual telehealth model. And through all of this, has continued to conduct research relevant to the pandemic. You also provide free resources to the public to help them during this time that are COVID specific. Research is showing that mental health difficulties are on the rise during COVID, and so encouraging people to seek help when they need it most is the ongoing challenge. A particularly shocking fact we found from your research is that 39% of youth have reported significant problems with their mood and anxiety during the pandemic. This is quite a concerning statistic, and what we at MAM will be doing for you is targeting these youth who have been particularly impacted and encouraging them to seek the care that CAMH provides. Through further research into CAMH, we have found even more incredible recognition and work that you've been doing that has inspired our campaign. You were recently identified as one of Canada's best diversity employers, and you continue to put in this great work through your One CAMH strategic plan that you came out with recently, as well as your strategy to dismantle anti-Black racism. And so those things have really inspired our campaign that we'll be getting into shortly. You also have an established following on social media. But what we think we can do is target a youth audience that is not being directly targeted at this time. So our campaign will kind of pull from your strengths to create opportunities to reach new audiences. Next slide. So we do have some recommendations for you based on the research that we conducted. Short term, we would recommend using social media to target youth where they already spend their time, which is online. We recommend that you tap into the mental health space that is very well established on social media to reach these target audiences. We also want to more prominently feature your COVID-19 resources on the homepage of your website to increase their reach and to encourage unique downloads. Long-term, we want to continually engage youth on social media beyond the span of this campaign to keep CAMH top of mind as youth grow into adulthood. We also recommend a website redesign to clearly feature more frequently accessed pages, such as where you can receive care and how you can sign up for online services. We also recommend to actively seek out partnerships, both monetary and brand focused, which we'll be getting into a little bit throughout our presentation. I'll now pass it over to Megan to introduce you to CAMH Health Check.
CAMH Health Check is the name of our campaign, so let's get into our plans for you. Mental health concerns, as you know, have become increasingly important during the global pandemic. CAMH Health Check is a reminder for our community to check in on their mental health because, as we know, mental health is health. As you can see in the top right corner is our logo, and it's a leaf that's turned into a checkbox to symbolize growth and nurturing the mind. Our campaign is designed to destigmatize mental health in mental health hospitals while promoting access to receiving and using virtual resources. Our 4-month-long campaign will be executed in 4 phases that align with our budget. It starts in July and will end in October. Each month will have a different theme pertaining to CAMH and mental health awareness. Our first month is our BIPOC Representation Month. The goal is to integrate the Black Lives Matter movements, stop Asian hate, as well as other BIPOC communities to open the discussion as to how marginalized communities suffer from mental health, the additional barriers that they have to face in our community, and what some of the cultural differences are as well. Through this, we can continue to promote diversity and inclusion on social media to help reduce the additional barriers that marginalized youth can face. We can also highlight that CAMH has made Canada's top diversity employer. For our next month, it will be pop culture and creativity related. Having a youth-centered campaign allows for the opportunity to engage with pop culture and boost creativity, and it'll really help to increase CAMH's following on social media, as well as further appeal to the younger generation with exciting contests and celebrities and things like that that we'll touch on very, very soon. For our next month, it'll be focused around education. We plan on partnering with different high schools, colleges, and universities within the GTA to educate others about the various mental illnesses and resources that they have access to. Through this, we can also partner with the Toronto Public Library to provide reading materials and host virtual workshops regarding mental health as well. Lastly, to end our campaign on a very high note, October is Mental Health Month, and this will be the time to highlight all education, resources, and knowledge shared by CAMH. This will overall help to erase the stigma from mental health hospitals, as well as encourage people to use and donate to CAMH. Next slide, please. Our target audience for this campaign are people between the ages of 12 to 25, somewhere in the GTA. As this is a social media focused campaign, it will really engage young people to encourage them to take charge of their mental well-being in a virtual platform and in the virtual setting that we live in today. In addition to this, primary stakeholders that we've considered include youth, parents and caregivers, potential donors, CAMH staff, the Government of Ontario, and other media outlets. Next slide, please. As you're already aware of some of our objectives that are further detailed in our report, some that we've included can be accomplished by the end of our campaign, which is October 31st, 2021, and that is the following. Create a TikTok account and gain 10K followers by October 31st, 2021, obtain 5,000 first-time donors by October 31st, 2021, and obtain a new corporate sponsor by October 31st, 2021. Next slide, please. So some of our key messages for our CAMH Health Check campaign are as follows. 1, CAMH Health Check will encourage normalizing CAMH as a mental health hospital while supporting healthy dialogue on mental wellness from family, friends, and peers. 2, COVID-19 has had detrimental impacts on youth. Therefore, we plan to help reduce the invisible barriers. This includes financial accessibility and inclusivity for different communities. 3, CAMH encourages donations and virtual/in-person services to access care for our youth struggling with mental health and mental illnesses during these unprecedented times. And lastly, CAMH continues to redefine mental health education by sharing knowledge, resources, and learning opportunities for young people to help eliminate the stigma. Next slide, please. So to get into our timeline, this is how things are going to look during our BIPOC Representation Month. We are starting off with a press release starting in July, as mentioned, to promote the entire campaign and kicking things off with their first virtual event, a meditation session that I will touch on further. Next, we'll have influencer outreach and management throughout the campaign, and they'll be promoting the campaign as a whole, as well as some of the upcoming events that we have. Next, we will have our TikTok account launch, and we will start the campaign, How Are You Loving Yourself Today? With this challenge, it'll encourage people to share their mental health stories, and we'll have influencers repost it to gain more traction, and it can really help start something new and exciting. Next, we will have our meditation session. This will be held on Instagram Live, hosted by Alicia Jade, who is the owner for You're Mindful, a meditation practice in Toronto. I'll touch on her a bit more shortly. Next, and for our last event of the month, we have a panel discussion, and the topic here will be discussing male Black youth to dismantle toxic masculinity as society has normalized men struggling with mental health. As outlined in our budget, we will also consider website redesign, social media content creation, as well as social media monitoring. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, Alicia Jade will be leading this meditation session, as it will be a de-stressing event for our community and for our young people to practice meditation and mindfulness. On top of having her own company, You're Mindful, she's a content producer, public speaker, and overall mental health advocate. We think she will be the perfect person to lead this session. Next slide.
Okay, so now for the second month of the CAMH Health Check campaign. So this theme will be pop culture and creativity. Since this is a youth-centered campaign, incorporating pop culture is a great way to get them engaged with the content and keep them interested. So one of the main events for this month will be our art contest and auction. We will be calling on youth to submit various art forms surrounding mental health, depicting their journey, struggles, and what it means to them and how they are overcoming. There will be a press release sent out to kick this off on August 3rd, and submissions will open the same day. Submissions for the art contest will close on August 27th, and winners will be announced on the 31st. We'll be working with the brand Empathy Crate, which is a wellness brand who will be providing us with care packages to send to winners. And in addition to this, Made with Love Sneakers, who already donates their proceeds to CAMH, will be providing us with 3 custom sneakers to gift to winners. There will be another aspect of this art contest, which is the auction. So when art is submitted to the contest, participants will also have the option of submitting it for the art auction, which will be happening on August 29th. Along with the art that can be bought, Made with Love Sneakers will be donating another pair specifically just for the auction, designed for CAMH that can be won. All proceeds from this event will go right back to CAMH, while also providing an outlet for youth to express themselves and share their art with the supportive community. Since the pandemic, many concerts have been delayed or canceled completely, eliminating an event that brings joy to so many people. For this reason, we want CAMH to bring concerts back in a virtual format so that I can still bring that joy while being safe at the same time. Our virtual charity concert will be taking place on August 21st over Zoom. To headline this event, we will book Saran, a Canadian singer-songwriter whose music speaks deeply to his emotions and are relatable to a lot of people. He'll be performing his new single "Bottle Up," which discusses his anxiety, and I'll talk a little bit more about Saran shortly. And then at various times throughout the month, we will also have influencers posting about our events, and our own social feeds will be dedicated to sharing music, movies, and anything pop culture related that shows accurate depictions of mental health. This will be an alternate method to educate youth about what mental health really looks like in real life. And so now to talk more about Saran. So he is a Canadian singer-songwriter who will be headlining the virtual charity concert. And he is most famous for his IG comment song, which was a song that he created by the comments in his Instagram videos by his fans. And this video has over 5 million views on YouTube. So with about 94,000 Instagram followers, 200,000 YouTube subscribers, and 29,000 Facebook fans, Saran will be able to reach a large audience. And in addition to his wide reach, his music is also very relatable, as he often writes about his own struggles and journey with mental health.
So phase 3 of our campaign will be taking place during September, and it will be our education month. We feel that this will be a very strategic way to reach a young audience. So as mentioned briefly previously, we will partner with the Toronto Public Library. What we will do is select books for different youth age groups related to mental health. So from picture books that parents can read their young children all the way up to novels and self-help books for the older age range. We'll curate a book club that will be launched with a press release on September 1st. We'll then have strategic social media posts to encourage participation for the duration of the month. We'll also have book club sessions with the authors on Instagram Live. So some of the featured books, their authors will be participating. The first book club will be on September 18th with Anna Papperny, and the second book club will be with Rashmi Chandra, author of How I Take Care of My Home, on September 25th. We will also begin school partnerships as early as September 13th. We'll partner with schools in the GTA such as U of T, Ryerson, and Humber College to cover the older age range, as well as the TDSB to cover the more grade school level children, to share educational resources with both staff and students. We'd be sharing things such as the COVID-19 resources from CAMH. We'll also provide them with social content that they can share with their students on their respective channels. We can provide them with youth mental health resources specific to youth. We'll also share the Youth Mental Health Tutorial, which is an online course created in partnership with the HBC Foundation that already exists on CAMH's website. And we'll share that with staff and students to educate themselves as part of their health classes that are already in their curriculum, because again, mental health is health. What we also think is really important is to include teachers as much as possible. And so we'll also hold roundtable educator sessions to provide staff with resources on how they can not only help themselves, but also help their students, because it will be a top-down approach to make sure that staff understand mental health and therefore they can help their students understand and help themselves. Throughout the month on CAMH's social channels, we will also share these educational books, resources, information about mental illnesses, and would also be sharing information on TikTok to remind audiences that CAMH is a thought leader in the industry. Next slide. So as I mentioned, Anna Papperny is one of the authors that we would be featuring this month. She is the award-winning journalist and author of the book, Hello, I Want to Die, Please Fix Me. In her memoir, Anna bravely depicts her experience with depression and asks important questions regarding what we know and don't know about the disease. So Anna will be the first of many authors to participate in our book club, which focuses on mental health and wellness reading material. Next slide.
Okay, now this brings us to the final month of the campaign, and it'll be all about CAMH. So the staff, the patients, and the families. We want to end this campaign on a high note, given that October is Mental Health Awareness Month. So on the 4th, we'll be sending out a press release with an overview of all the COVID-19 resources on the CAMH website. The hope with this is that it will increase the unique download and page views of their website. Social media will be the primary tool we will be utilizing for this month of the campaign. So while you already do testimonials on your channel, we would like to continue this because we think that it's a great idea. However, we just have a suggestion to tweak it just a bit. So we would suggest making them in a video format because we believe this will hold your audience's attention longer and allow them to connect with the subject of the testimonial better. These testimonials will feature staff, patients, researchers, patients, other family members, really anyone who is involved with CAMH and would like to tell their story. It will also be a great opportunity to show the CAMH facility and display it as a welcoming and safe environment and not a scary place that people sometimes associate with a mental health hospital. We envision CEO Catherine Zahn taking part in one of these testimonials and would also suggest Andrew Johnson, the manager of client and family education at CAMH, for one of these testimonials who I'll be touching on later. CAMH has many extraordinary resources for the public, especially in regards to COVID-19, but unfortunately, we believe many are unaware that they even exist. Many of the social media posts that we have planned for this month, in addition to the testimonials, will specifically be dedicated to informing the public of these resources, such as the increased capacity for virtual care and the Mental Health 101 educational courses. The CAMH Health Check campaign will come to a close on October 31st, and we believe that focusing on CAMH's resources is the perfect way to end it and reiterate exactly what this campaign is about, which is reducing the negative stigmas surrounding mental health and CAMH. Okay, so now I'll just touch a little bit more on Andrew Johnson and why we would suggest him as one of the main spokespersons for this month of the campaign. So with over 8 years of experience at CAMH as the manager of client and family education, we believe he will be able to accurately depict what makes CAMH so special. He also has done interviews in the past that we've found through our research and seems comfortable in front of the camera, which we believe will be a great benefit. So now I'll just briefly go over the budget for this campaign. So here I have outlined the spending, which is according to the budget that we were given, which was $80,000 in total, but $20,000 per month. So a more detailed breakdown has been provided in our document that was given to you, but I'll just give a brief overview for the sake of the presentation. So the grand total of this campaign will be $72,426, and the monthly breakdown comes to $15,982 in phase 1, $18,932 in phase 2, $19,932 in phase 3, and then finally $17,580 in phase 4. So these costs include a number of things that are essential to the campaign, such as agency fees, social media content creation and monitoring, press releases and pitching, influencer, music booking and author fees, and media training. And then this number also includes any costs of executing the events that we are pitching. So now I'll just go into a little more about the specific tactics that we'll be utilizing for this campaign, starting off with social media. So One of the things that we would like to suggest for CAMH is to create a TikTok account in the first month of the campaign. And there are a number of reasons why we believe this is a good move for the organization. So firstly, TikTok has become the highest grossing app on the iOS App Store, and its popularity is only growing, especially among youth, which is the target audience for this campaign. So second, none of the competitors that we have identified for CAMH are currently utilizing TikTok. It will be beneficial for CAMH to get a head start on this platform and be the first entrance into the field. And finally, TikTok also has huge affinity spaces surrounding mental health where users discuss tips, resources, provide support for each other. CAMH can tap into this community by participating in the challenges, sharing their own research resources, and promoting the CAMH Health Check hashtag. So another benefit of this app is that it favors organic content that is not heavily produced, making it relatively easy and quick to create posts, and content can be easily republished on Instagram as well in the form of Reels. So to get a better idea of what we envision for the CAMH TikTok account, we have created a few mock posts. So the first three are examples of a challenge that we would create for the community to participate in by using a feature on the app called Duet, where users can add their own videos to the end of a post. And then the fourth video that I'll show is just a general post that we believe would fit really well on the platform. So here's the first one.
New TikTok challenge, stitch this and tell me, how are you loving yourself today? I'll go first. Well, I wanted to get myself a glass of water to make sure that I stay hydrated. And then I went online for my therapy session at camh.ca. This has been an official CAMH health check.
So this first post would be what CAMH would initially post under their own account. And then the following two that I'll show you is what would be stitched onto the video, except with actual TikTok users creating their own content with it.
New TikTok challenge, stitch this and tell me, how are you loving yourself today?
Today I showed a little love to myself by going for a walk in the nice sunshine, and then I had a nice conversation on the phone with the folks from CAMH.
And then here is another one.
New TikTok challenge, stitch this and tell me, how are you loving yourself today?
Today I showed myself a little bit of love by sitting outside and just enjoying some fresh air. And then I came back inside and I connected with the folks at CAMH to just check in and provide a good health check.
So like I said, this is an example of a challenge that you can find everywhere on TikTok in different affinity spaces, but this is just one that is specific to the mental health affinity space. And then this last video that I'll show is just a general kind of post that we envision.
Life can be tough. It can take a toll on you. You may try to ignore it and push through. That won't always help. Believe in yourself. Release your stress. Relax. Find a furry friend. And take the time to talk to someone. CAMH. We're here to help.
Okay, now I'll just hand it over to Megan to speak a little bit more about some of the Instagram posts that we have planned.
So we've created some exciting different social media posts that we can use across our platforms, but especially on Instagram. During phase 1 of our campaign, which focuses on BIPOC representation, on the right-hand side, you can see a mock Instagram post of promoting the virtual meditation session that we have with Alicia Jade. And it'll be a fun way for people to repost it, get more people to come to the event, and just really be engaging content that we can have on our social media platforms. On the left-hand side is much more casual and just something that we can post to really get people to participate in doing affirmations. For example, I can and I will is something really important that we want people to know that they can and they will take care of their mental health. Next slide, please. For phase 2 of our campaign, which focuses around pop culture and creativity, on the right-hand side, again, is an example of us quoting some different celebrities discussing mental health. And in this case, we've used Kristen Bell, who's an actress and a comedian, who said mental health check-ins should be as routine as going to the doctor or to the dentist. On the left-hand side is an example of a Instagram story that we can post promoting our art contest. And here we can have artwork featured in the CAMH building, and we can really get people to understand what CAMH Health Check means to them while having lots of people apply for this contest. Next post, please. So this is an example of a mock art submission that we were able to create, and it's made as though a younger child could have made this and submitted this. And we really think that it's just a great way for young people to share their stories and bring some more light into the CAMH building and have something that's a really fun part of this campaign to engage youth. Next slide, please. So here on the right-hand side, and for this month, we'll be focusing on education. On the right-hand side, you can see that there are 7 things that you can do to reduce the stigma, which was taken directly from the CAMH website. And we think it's a great way to make access to resources a lot easier for people to view and see and consume. And on the left-hand side, we have an example of an Instagram story where we include some really important statistics and quotes that we think people should really be aware of and that young people should know about. Next slide, please. And so for our last phase of the campaign, which we'll be focusing on CAMH as a whole, we can really touch on some of the virtual services that CAMH offers. And for example, on the right-hand side, we can discuss the secure video conferencing and how people can contact CAMH, where they can go to learn more about some of these services. And it's a great way to, once again, make information more accessible for young people. On the left-hand side is an example of a more casual post, once again, giving some examples for what you can do when you feel anxious that can easily be reposted on Twitter as well, and even on Instagram stories and such. And it's a great way to, once again, get people involved and engaged in some of the really great initiatives that we have planned and the great things that CAMH already does. Next slide, please.
So we'll also be using some traditional media tactics for this campaign. Next slide. So as referenced in our timeline, we will be utilizing press releases at the start of every phase of the campaign to highlight the key event that is happening. So for phase 1, that's the meditation session. For phase 2, it's a call to action for the art contest and auction. For phase 3, that's announcing the Toronto Public Library partnership. And for phase 4, that is highlighting COVID-19 resources and getting the inside scoop on what it is to be at CAMH. This will be coupled with targeted pitching throughout the course of the campaign to select journalists and media outlets from our curated media list. Next slide.
Okay, now our third tactic is going to be our events, which will all be held online. So the first tool that we will be utilizing for our events is Instagram Live Rooms, which is a newly updated feature on Instagram where a group of 4 people can go live to their followers at one time. And this platform would be used for mostly like our panel events. So the good thing about using this is that because it is taking place on Instagram, it will also drive more traffic to the CAMH News account, which will in turn increase their follower count. And then the other one we'll be using is Zoom video webinars, similar to what we are all using now. So the main reason why we chose to use Instagram Live Rooms and Zoom video webinars is because of the option for participants to stay anonymous. So we understand that mental health can be a sensitive topic for some, and we want to make sure that our events are accessible to everyone, no matter how willing they are to speak about the topic publicly. We want to ensure that our events remain a safe space. So in addition to staying anonymous, the hosts of these can remove any participants who are saying anything inappropriate.
On you. We would like to take you through a corporate sponsor we think would fit perfectly with CAMH's brand and bring in additional funds. Next slide. So we have identified KPMG Canada as a great corporate sponsor for CAMH long-term and for this campaign. KPMG has taken a strong stance on supporting their employees' mental health during COVID. They even named one of their CPAs who almost quit because of his mental health, and they named him the Chief Mental Health Officer. In April, KPMG was quoted in a Globe and Mail article as having used CAMH's resources to help their employees. They are great supporters of mental health in a corporate environment, and so we will be reaching out to KPMG in the hopes that they sponsor CAMH and support future research. Next slide.
Okay, and finally, as you've heard us mention multiple times throughout our presentation, we will be working with influencers. So now I'd just like to introduce you to a few of them. And just to note, they're all Canadian and all have some affiliation within the mental health and wellness sphere. So first we'll start off with the brand Empathy Crate, who will be providing us with wellness care package for the winners of the art contest in month 2. So the founder of this amazing company is Leslie Ann Paris, who will be promoting the CAMH Health Check hashtag. And then along with Leslie, Anna Pikov is the founder of Made with Love Sneakers, who will also be supporting us and providing us with the custom sneakers as part of the art contest. Rashmi Chandra is the author of How I Take Care of My Home, who will be participating in the book club along with Omar Hachem, who has an upcoming book release and will be guiding the 3rd book club meeting. So both of these authors, as I mentioned, are Canadian and mental health advocates. Melissa Falconer is a Toronto-based artist who specializes in Black pop art, and she sells her art online and will be supporting us during month 2. And finally, Kiosha Love is an influencer and founder of Our Women's Voices, a nonprofit organization dedicating to amplifying marginalized voices and making social change for women. Kiosha will be supporting us during our first month of the campaign and will be participating in the panel discussion. So with that, that brings us towards the end of our presentation. Yeah, we have the four-phase plan that I really hope you'll enjoy. And we'll just open the floor to any questions that you have.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was an amazing presentation. Really, really enjoyed it. Felt like it was us. So that feels really, really great. I do have a couple of questions. So each of the phases feels a little bit different. Can you talk a little bit about how you would transition between them to make a strong connection throughout the campaign?
I can kick things off. I think one of the key ways that we plan on kicking off each of the months will be with a press release. We plan on making sure that the public and everyone who is aware of our campaigns are aware of the fact that each different month has a different theme, a different approach to how we're communicating with people. And we're going to make sure that with the use of social media, we can really highlight even our timeline on our social media pages as well. And we can highlight this on the CAMH website as well to really make sure that people are engaged and understanding how our timeline will work and how the campaign is going. And we really just want to make sure that with using social media as our main tool to inform people about what's going on and how the structure of the campaign will work, it'll be a great chance for people to get involved. And because it's a youth-centered campaign, having it focused on social media, also given the virtual platform, will be really helpful for some of our TikTok and Instagram and Twitter users.
And I think also just to add on to Megan, sorry, Angela.
No, go ahead.
So yes, we do have the 4 different themes, but there is one underlying theme that combines all of them, which is decreasing the negative stigmas behind mental health and CAMH. So having that theme that is going to be flowing throughout all of them will also help flow between the months more smoothly.
Yeah, and just kind of adding to that, the transition will be quite smooth because of social media. So we'll have some things that will carry throughout all phases of the campaign. So for example, those affirmations that Megan highlighted, we're planning to post those every Tuesday. So that's something that flows through the campaign and we continue with those through every phase. So I think social media is really the key point where things are transitioning smoothly. And because that's where the majority of the campaign takes place, it'll be quite seamless.
Yeah, that's great. We're really interested in the Toronto Public Library partnership, and just wondering if you could give us a little bit more information about your thought process around that partnership. Do you see that as a growth area for us as we move beyond the campaign? Just interested in where you kind of started on this and where you think it could go.
Yeah, I can start and kick things off. I think when we were discussing what we wanted to do for Education Month, we all kind of had a light bulb moment and we're like, why don't we just go to the library? And it became a really universal thing between us when we realized we all read self-help books, when we realized even as a child how important and useful opening up a picture book about mental health could have been. And then the more we kind of unpack that thought process, we thought that this could have been a really big opportunity for CAMH, given the success of the event and depending on how things go, to not only have it during our 4-month-long timeline, but also something that you consistently do, whether it's monthly or whether it's maybe every 6 months, depending on the success of it. And we think it's going to give people a really good opportunity of all different age groups, but particularly for youth, to not only learn about mental health, but then it'll give a chance to kind of showcase CAMH and how much time and effort and care CAMH puts into making sure that we're providing easily accessible information for people. And it's also a really great way to have authors and people in the writing community more integrated with what CAMH does.
And I think the great part about that partnership and the use of social media is that lives on your page for as long as you choose to keep it there. So that those books that we've curated into a book club can stay there, and then you can add to it over time. So like Megan said, when we evaluate at the end of this, the success of the campaign, we anticipate that that will be very successful, and then we can see that continuing. And like Megan said, on whatever timeline that may be, monthly, whatever's sustainable, but that lives on your page forever.
That's great, thanks. I have just a question about the cost associated with it. Are you going to be able to, as part of the cost structure, support us with social media support? So I'm thinking about regular monitoring of posts and that sort of thing. And do you have sort of a mitigation strategy for any emergencies that might kind of pop up on social media, or any supports that people might need in the midst of perhaps potentially some difficult conversations?
Yeah, so I can take this one. So in our document, we've actually already allocated $700 specifically per month just to media monitoring. And then as well, because we know that we had that $80,000, the grand total of this campaign is around 72,000. So we really didn't want to completely max it out at 80,000, because we wanted to make sure we did have some room that, especially with social media, a new trend can pop up tomorrow that we really want to capitalize on, especially with this TikTok that we're suggesting. These challenges happen weekly, daily, hourly. So that's a reason why, we wanted to make sure we kept it well below 80,000, so that we have that buffer room to, be flexible throughout this campaign.
So, just lots of ideas sparking in my head. I like the art auction and the potential there for sort of, reaching different audiences. I just wondered if you thought a little bit more sort of beyond that, how some of these events throughout the months will amplify some of our donors, our existing donors, and attract new ones. And if you had like kind of just a few specific things to say about how that would happen.
I can tackle this one. I think with our campaign, recognizing that we're particularly focusing on youth and having a youth-centered campaign, we realized that it's going to be very important to include parents in the conversation and making sure that parents are aware of all the things that we're doing, which is why we want to have news releases, and which is why we want to make sure that within our sort of age frame, that the parents are still knowledgeable of all the things that CAMH is doing and happening, which is why we want our website to be consistent with everything that we have going on. And we think that with these events, considering all the education and time and everything that CAMH will be putting into this, parents will see that and recognize the importance of CAMH. So we think all the plans and events and everything that we're pushing on social media will really help encourage people to understand what CAMH does, creating more easily accessible information, making sure that we're engaging with youth in new and different ways. And through that, and through conversations with parents, through conversations with teachers, through conversations with different organizations that we're partnering with, they'll really be able to see and highlight how important, working with CAMH really is. Also, hence why we have some influencers as a part of the campaign to really help showcase what CAMH does. And the ultimate goal from all of these things is in recognizing how many steps that CAMH has made and how many cool, exciting things that we're doing. Through that, we will be able to gain more donors and more traffic on our websites and more increased followings and things as such.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks very much for a really comprehensive presentation.